Ahi ahi Marie, a severe earthquake rocked Milford Sound and Fiordland this morning, measuring 5.2 on the Richter scale. The quake struck just after 7:40 a.m, 10 kilometres northeast of Milford Sound at a depth of 6 kilometres. More than 230 people registered as having felt the quake on the GeoNet website, the majority in the South Island, but there were also some reports from as far away as the Bay of Plenty and Auckland. Over a dozen aftershocks were reported in the area today, but there were no reports of damage or injuries. A proposal to remove reserve status and allow for the sale of 2 sections of the Sandy Point domain is to be rediscussed by Invercargill City Council and could mean it will go up for sale. When adopting the draft management plan for the Sandy Point domain in March, Council decided not to remove the status, which would make the land leased by the Cabbage Tree restaurant and the Beach Road motor camp available for freehold. Instead, the decision was deferred until a legal opinion was obtained on the process to be adopted to resolve the issue. It will now go back to the Works and Infrastructure Committee on Monday, where it's recommended members vote again and opt to offer the land as freehold. Petrol prices have risen again the second time in a week, putting them at the highest level since August 2012. Petrol prices have increased 7 cents a litre this week, with Z Energy blaming the latest 4-cent rise on the rising price of international refined fuel. A 3-cent rise earlier in the week followed a rise in petrol excise. A litre of regular is now close to $2.23 a litre, while diesel is $1.54. The price of regular now matches the record high of August 2012, although diesel prices are still well below their July 2008 high. The best of Southland's environmental heroes were thanked for their contribution last night at an annual awards ceremony. Olivia Taylor-Pebbles has the story.
The Southland Environment and Conservation Awards were held in Invercargill last night to celebrate the efforts of those dedicated to creating a greener future for the region. St Teresa School in Bluff took home the school award for planting 3,000 native trees and incorporating environmental issues into the curriculum. Senior class teacher Rosie Coyle says the school hopes to instil a lasting sense of environmental awareness in students.
Because New Zealand has specific species, we want to keep them. We don't want them to be destroyed by predators that have been brought in from somewhere else. And we also want to incorporate a love of the outdoors within the children and growing vegetables and keeping their own food and sustainability and handing that on down to their parents and their grandparents who originally would have had their own gardens and would have had their own ways of sustainability.
Individual award winner Adam Lilly is no stranger to recognition for his Kingswell Creek project, an initiative to revitalise the creek and encourage others to take pride in their community. His idea also won the 2012 Trust Power Youth Community Spirit Award, and he says there are big plans for it in the future.
So what comes next is we're going to have another clean-up day in September, inviting the primary schools back. So that will be Firmworth Primary and New River Primary and Aurora College. So they will come back down with hopefully some support of South Alive. We'll pull some weeds, hopefully get some more plants in and just carry on, do another quick clean-up of the creek and keep the area looking good. And we hope to roll that out every September of every year.
South Catlins Environment and Development Trust Chair Pamela Callaghan says they too have further ideas for extending their Curio Bay Living Forest project, which was the recipient of the Community Award.
We're going to extend the track. We have to put a bridge across a small creek and extend the track. We're going to put seats and resting places in it, and it's all just part of our project for looking after the Curio Bay area.
Viv Shaw, Pomona Island Trust Secretary, says it came as a shock to win the Councillors Award, presented in recognition of her ongoing involvement in the island's Kiwi project and her wide support of other environmental activities.
When you get involved in conservation projects, you do it because you've got a passion for doing it, because you want to help save endangered species, and you certainly don't think about getting any form of acknowledgement for it, so just absolutely overwhelmed.
She says the next major undertaking for the Trust will be to transfer native saddleback from Breaksea Island to Rona Island in Lake Manapuri. This year saw 37 entries across 8 categories. The other winners were Roger and Alison Thomas of Clifton for their sustainable farming operation, Deep Cove Education Trust of Fiordland for 40 years spent educating young Southlanders on the environment, the Morgan Foundation for its $1 Million Mouse campaign to eradicate mice from the Antipodes, Ben and Blake Weston of Makarewa for their voluntary possum trapping efforts, Main Freight Invercargill for its new environmentally friendly building and yard, and John Puri Crust for his innovative approach to farm forestry. The full awards ceremony will be broadcast on Q Television on Saturday from 9 p.m. Olivia Taylor-Peebles, South Today News.
Stay with us. After the break, we speak to Gareth Morgan, who was at the Environment Awards, about his bid to eradicate pests from Stewart Island. Welcome back. Also picking up an award at last night's Environment Awards was the Morgan Foundation for its $1 Million Mouse campaign to eradicate mice from the Antipodes. Founder of the charitable trust, Gareth Morgan, spoke to Olivia Taylor-Peebles about one of his latest conservation projects, an ambitious vision to rid Stewart Island of predators. He says the new project is in the process of establishing a governance board.
And the support's pretty good. I mean, I think everybody would love to wake up one morning and it was predator free, but the issue is the journey. How do we actually get there? And so in order to navigate that path, we're setting up the governance board, and the governance board will have all three, 2 or 3 councils that are involved. It will have members of the community, it will have businesses, it will of course have iwi, which is Ngāi Tahu and Crier, and who else will it have? Some of the businesses.
And it is quite a controversial proposal at this stage. Will you push forward if Stewart Island residents don't get behind the project?
No, you have to do it with the community. Now, you'll never get 100%. Right? It just doesn't work like that, ever. But as long as we can get the balance of the community seeing the economic impact, we've already had a couple of sessions over there. The vibes are very positive in terms of wanting to go further and evaluate it more. So we just take it step by step. That doesn't mean to say that we won't hit a deal breaker down the road. So it's too early to preempt that and say, no, we'll do it regardless, because we don't know that.
In terms of the funding, who are you hoping, or can you give examples of who you hope to get behind it?
Well, I think we'll have a combo. There'll be some of the big conservation NGOs around the world have already signalled interest in it because it is such an iconic and big achievement. I think on a national stage, because of the economic multipliers, I think the government will directly participate. I think you'll find businesses and philanthropists will do the same. So I think it's a wide base that will support this.
How sustainable do you think this is going to be in the long term?
It's got to be sustainable. I mean, I think once you achieve it, that's another thing that makes this a unique project. It's not just an eradication. It's an eradication and then maintaining it with human beings going back and forth to Stewart Island. That's what makes it so special. But as I said to one of the fishermen, I think it was, in the first meeting over there, when he said, the last thing I want is to have border control come on my boat. I said to him, mate, at the end of the day, if that's the biggest economic stimulus that Stewart Island's ever going to get, you will murder anybody who breaks that.
How quickly are you hoping to achieve it?
Yeah, well, October's when the governance board will have its first full session, and it'll have a couple more reports. It'll have the economic impact report by then, and the social benefit report. It'll have another scoping on the stage 1 project, which is the Half Moon Bay project. So it'll have a lot of information that it can then socialise with the community and all the stakeholders, and we'll see where we go from there. But I mean, I think it's not unrealistic to expect that fence probably to begin, not this summer, but maybe next summer. So that's the first part of it.
Students from 3 Southland schools today showcased their talent for languages in a special competition at James Hargest College. The annual Southland Interschool Japanese Speech Competition, now celebrating its 15th year, saw entries from James Hargest, Southland Boys High and Southland Girls High. The college's head of languages, Karen Thompson, says this year's event had 62 entries and competitors were being judged on their grammar, pronunciation and speech complexity. Entrants ranged from year 7 to year 13, with each age group speaking on a different topic. Prizes included trophies for the winners, as well as books, DVDs and vouchers. It's an ongoing tradition that's been around since Roman times. Town criers announce the news in the streets and act as goodwill ambassadors for their towns. Former Australasian town crying champion, Paddy Ann Pemberton, will soon be competing on the world stage in Canada, where she's hoping to add to her haul of medals and trophies.
In 3 weeks' time, I'm heading over to Kingston, Ontario in Canada, and they're having what we call a World Invitational Tournament, and I think 50 criers can compete at this stage. There's just around about the mid-30s in numbers from all around the world.
And at the competition, dressed in Fruitopia and Pinot Noir, Paddy Ann will announce the qualities of her district.
Central Otago, 10,000 square kilometres, one of the most stunningly beautiful and diverse regions in the South Island. Think small towns, vineyards, orchards, farmland, mountains, lakes and rivers, rocks, absorbing the 16,000 welcoming hobbits, inhabitants. Haere-ra!
Currently there are just 7 town criers throughout our nation, but Paddy Ann insists there's still a need for the human touch. Given technology today, do you think it's still a valid profession?
Oh, I think absolutely. I think to have the X factor at any of your events, to have somebody turned out in a fine livery, as we like to call it, or a uniform, and it just gives that extra pizzazz, I think, to any event. And the spoken word and the real touch, I think, is going to be around forever. Look, town cry's been around since the Greek and Roman times, and I don't think we're going off the face anytime soon.
A good town crier needs big lungs and theatrics, and there's a vacancy in Invercargill.
Invercargill, you need a town crier. Someone who is passionate about their city. Someone with a loud voice. Someone who can plan a tribe. Someone who loves to meet people. Someone who's not scared to don a hat and be accused of being a pirate. Come on, Invercargill! Where is your next town crier? Oh, yay!
And you can find out more about how to become a town crier at www.towncrier.co.nz. And that's it from the news team. Coming up in sport, we profile Highlander Liam Coltman. Haere-ra.